Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm the Inconsequential Runner. And if you're new here, welcome. What this is all about is runners asking questions of a good coach to get insights to the questions that we're asking. Hope that kind of makes sense. We have with us Coach Mark. Hello, Coach Mark.
Hi, Darcy. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. You are the glue in this show. So I ramble a little bit. Part of that ramble is me spitting out a question and we get your insights. So thank you so much for being here and thanks for helping out with that. For those that were watching in the last video, we started to touch on a subject that I thought let's talk about in this video. And that is all about what are the warning signs that our running training is becoming unhealthy, all too consuming. So we're talking physically, I suppose we're talking mentally as well, where we just think about it too much. I have a wry smile on my face because I think some of the things you're going to talk about, I'm going to be thinking, tick, that's me. It's yeah, it can get a little bit too much. So let me throw that question to you in just a moment, Coach Mark. For those of you watching, thank you for joining us on this channel. You know what to do. If you like the content that Coach Mark shares with us, the way you repay it is just hit like. It's free and it's really cool for us. Helps with the algorithm too, of course. If you have a running buddy that you think is overcoaching and can benefit from this information, share it with them. And if you want to stay in the loop with other videos we put together, and we put these together fairly regularly, just hit subscribe. But Coach Mark, okay, how do we know? What are the warning signs that we're just basically overcooking ourselves, that our passion for running is becoming all-consuming and becoming unhealthy? What are all the sorts of signs we should be looking for?
Yeah, I tell you, probably all these signs I've recognised in myself over the years as well. I've been there. I actually got to the point I was pushing. Things were getting worse. I was getting ill, injured. I kept thinking I need to train harder.
Yeah.
All the vicious cycle, and I ended up actually with chronic fatigue. I couldn't run for more than a year, so that was the price I paid.
Wow.
But yeah, but the long-term benefit of all that for me, because I was quite young at the time, young and foolish, but I now see the signs. So I learned the hard way, but it was a lesson that's really stuck with me. So happy to pass it on to other people so they don't fall into the same trap.
Yeah, please. And it's fantastic that
Yeah.
you're actually speaking from experience. You know exactly what these signs are.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's many. One of the first signs, actually, other people might comment. Is this getting a bit of an obsession for you? You're in a bad way. Friends and family, they might comment that you're fairly moody. You don't really have time for anything else. So these are things. Of course, running is our passion. So and hopefully we've got family and friends that understand that and are supportive of it. And I know I have, but you can cross the line. If it gets out of balance, running should be in balance with everything else. So if you're finding you're sacrificing family time and time with your friends, that's a big sign. Work is suffering, so that's another big sign. So your running is taking more importance in your work and your family, you feel. So that's not a good thing. It should add to your life, not be all consuming in your life.
Yep.
A really big one, this is one that as I touched on, if you're just constantly getting niggles all the time, you just seem to never really be in full flow. You're always struggling with something and never really recovering from sessions. That's a sure sign.
So you've used the word niggles. Is that deliberate?
Yeah.
So we're not talking injuries. Are we? Or when I hear you say niggle, I just think a bit like a tweak. I just feel something in my knee.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes during a run and I can sort of run out of it. and then I dismiss
Yeah.
it because I can run out of it. But the next run, there it is again, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to put a level on it. I thought quite carefully actually before I was going to say injuries, but I mean injuries can sort of happen, and they actually force you to stop anyway. Generally, whereas a niggle is something that you can struggle on through with, and of course, as you say, a niggle could be just something that's just in the background, and you're dealing with it, and it's not necessarily getting worse. But it's if you say get a say you've got a you're struggling with a sore knee and you find yourself you're favouring that and things are getting more and more hindered, and then you and then you find that suddenly spread to your hip, and your hip's pretty sore, and then your right Achilles is starting to get sore, and then people are saying, boy, are you injured? You really look injured now, and you go, oh, you know. That's the sort of thing where you need to take a step back and go, things aren't on a thing. If I guess what I'm saying is if things aren't on an upward trend, you know, your running should either be an even keel or slightly upwards. If it's just descending downwards, you know, you did a park run last week, and you ran quite hard, and that was this particular time, and then you know you continued sort of training hard, and then you're sort of struggling a bit with your knee and stuff, and then you had another crack at another park run, and this one was half a minute slower despite the same effort, and you know that's the sort of thing, and that's the sort of thing that happened to me, you know, and if you're not thinking, am I overdoing it? Is this unhealthy? What I'm actually doing? Like you can be thinking, oh, look, I just need to obviously train harder. Things will click. Things will click, and they don't click. No, not if they're trending down like that.
No, look, I think you're right. We tend to get this narrow focus of how can I run back to where I was before, and that's the narrowness. We just think the running part. How do I run myself back into the form I had before?
Yes.
You pick up on an interesting point about you may have seen my facial expression before where I was like, aha, when I was out at one of the training sessions with Olympic here, and someone came up to me and said, you look to be favoring one leg over another. And I didn't notice it, but yeah, it's funny what other people observe, you know, they pick up those micro signals. And I know, and you're right with saying that you can't say that a niggle is this or a niggle is that, but what you can say is, as you were articulated, is a niggle could be a pre-warning indicator that, you know, you're going to start favoring something, or that maybe an injury is on its way or something like that. So yeah, niggles are another one. What about so is there anything mental? And let me start you off with that, because sometimes you know, on the start of a run, I'm like, I don't want to do this, especially if it's a long run, because I know it's going to take me about half an hour before I get into it. But then I get into it and I love it and I finish it. But some other runs I might do. And I'm thinking back in time where, you know, I went through a bad patch and I just hated the whole run from start to finish. And I hated the idea of not running the next day. So I imagine there's something around enjoyment levels.
Yeah, there is. It should never feel like a never-ending chore.
Good word.
And as you say, sure, some runs you do dread getting out the door, but you know, hopefully it all ends up and you feel better for going for the run.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes it is a bad run, you know, but again, you're looking at trends really. Which is why I, you know, as you will know, when the people I coach, I ask them to give me feedback on how they felt during it. If every run, so if they do a run a whole week or week and a half, and they're all terrible runs, that's a sure sign. That's something's brewing. They're either heading for a cliff, or
that's a good point.
Yeah, but something needs to be changed or backed off. I mean. Running should ultimately be enjoyable, and you should feel certainly at the end of the week you should look back and think, you know, that was fairly worthwhile, and I feel kind of like again it's added something to my life. This is as well.
if you
sorry.
look at the week in review and all of the runs
Yeah.
during that week, it might be 5 or 6 runs are all just shocking in terms of you just felt
Yep.
bad. That's a warning sign.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So there's one particular person I know I train, and that sort of has happened to him a little bit. So we've just backed right off, gone back to just easy running, and he's coming out of it.
And look, that's one of the benefits of having a coach, because I think often we don't make the right decisions for ourselves, and we need to need to have another pair of eyes on us to go, look, this is what's happening. I think intuitively we know it, but I think we're quite dismissive of our intuition. And the strength of a coach is, someone who looks at the data like you do, and you get all my run data, and then you can, monitor and you make good informed decisions, where I think we get a bit blinded by desperation. And actually, when I use that word desperation, I think one of the feelings you get is around racing too, in terms of the performance. So we've talked about our training runs, we've talked about our sleep, we've talked about our general demeanor, which is moodiness. What are some of the warning signs related to a race? So you run a race and it is X in your view, and because it's X, that means it's a warning sign. What is X? What does a warning sign in a racing environment look like?
Yeah, well, so say you don't perform as well as you expected, and this might be something, if you look back at your training diary, or with the help, we might see, well, we could see why this happened. There was warning signs. You weren't going to run very well today because of this. But say you didn't run particularly well in this race, and you have sort of quite an extreme disappointment reaction to it, to the point, you sort of attach your self-esteem to the result. You've become a lesser of a person because of this result, and it's ruined your whole week. Again, this is all in line with running being all consuming in your life, which it shouldn't be. That's you've got nothing, you haven't got anything else to fall back on.
That's a really good point.
I've still got great friends, a good family. I'm still enjoying my running. I'm going out for a lovely run in the woods tomorrow, so it'll put this disappointing race in perspective. I can rationally analyze what happened in the race, and it was because of this, and this. That's all right. I'll correct that or whatever, and they'll move on. Next time, rather than that's one other thing, that's everything's ruined, that type of it. And I've had that before from people coming to me. So
now look, Coach Mark, I think that's the best point to finish on. You've given us a richness in terms of what to look out for in terms of our training, what to look out for in terms of our emotion, how it's impacting our sleep, how it's impacting our work, and our racing. How do we feel at the end of the race? Is it all-consuming disappointment, which means we've completely lost perspective and the role that running should have in our lives, which is to bring enjoyment? Or is it a case of we're really philosophical at the end of a race that hasn't gone to plan, and we're like, can't wait for the next one because I know what I did wrong, and I'll improve for that. And again, for those that are watching, thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you want to, there's previous video that Coach Mark helped us with in terms of a post-race review, the 9 Ps, and going through that to understand where we can improve race to race. But I'm going to wrap it there. Coach Mark, thank you so much again for those insights. If you want to get in contact with Coach Mark, which is one of the key points in this, making sure you've got a coach to keep an eye on you, Coach Mark's details are below in the show notes. Thanks for watching us to the end of the video. Take care. Enjoy your next run. See you later.
Cheers.